Hello. So today is going to be the start of a brand new series. I'm going to try doing, if I end up thinking it goes well, we'll see. But the idea is Tier List Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I'll do a new tier list. And I figured what better way to start off than with the 100 most popular anime from MyAnimeList and AniList. Just, everybody likes talking about how they feel about the most popular anime. So this is like a combined list, because in the actual top 100 for like MyAnimeList, they have some like sequels will be in there, and I just wanted 100 series not including sequels. So I think it was 85 from MyAnimeList, and then 15 were sequels, and then I took 15 from AniList, which were in there like top 100 to 115 or so that weren't on MyAnimeList and are new. It was kind of interesting, actually. MyAnimeList skews a little older, and AniList skews a little newer, so a lot of the newer series actually came from AniList's top 100. Just something I noticed. Maybe just different, the target audience who uses each of those websites. Like, it must be a little bit younger on AniList if I had to guess, and that's why. Anyway, that's besides the point. So on the left side here, we have this tier list I put together. You guys can access it too if you want. I'll put a link in the description if you want to do it for yourself. And on the right side, we have my AniList page. I'll also put a link to that in the description if you want to follow me or whatever, just to see what I'm up to for watching or reading. But I just have my top 25 anime pulled up here because I thought it would be interesting to see how many of my top 25 are actually in the top 100 most popular list, and which ones aren't. That might break my heart if they're not. So let's just jump right into it. I'll look at each one. I have all of these categories here. You can basically consider this like a number scale almost. Masterpiece would be a 10, Amazing's 9, Very Good 8, Good 7, Okay Decent 6, Not Great 5, Bad would be anything below a 5, and Haven't Seen is pretty self-explanatory. So we'll just go through. I'll say a little bit about each one from what I can remember for it. I actually also have my actual scored list pulled up here, so I can refer to that if I forget what I gave something. And we'll just go through and see what I do. Hopefully don't make anybody too angry with what I think of some of these shows. I don't think I have any super unpopular opinions, but we'll see. So we'll just look at this first row here. I think all of the pictures automatically arranged themselves alphabetically when I ordered it, so I was hoping that it would go in the order that I actually saved them from the lists, but they're alphabetical, so it is what it is. First up, we have Akame ga Kill. I watched that at the recommendation of a friend, and I ended up thinking it was pretty good. I really liked the cast. I thought, we had a good variety of people making it up. I liked that it was a show that wasn't afraid to actually kill off main characters. You actually felt like there were stakes when you're watching it. You didn't necessarily know who was going to die or when they were going to die. And I like when a show does that and it doesn't just, do an ass pull resurrection to bring them back for whatever reason. The action was good. I don't remember a whole lot about the soundtrack, and I do pay a lot of attention to the music. So, I'm sure there were some good action themes, but for me, the main thing that I liked about Akame ga Kill was the characters and the overall story. I did like how the story ended. Apparently, I think the anime actually ended before the manga did, so it had a different ending. Different characters survive, different ones die. And just the overall ending point of the story, I think, is pretty different. So if you watch the anime but you haven't read how the manga ended, I think it might be worth doing that just to actually see how different it was. See which one you prefer. I preferred the anime ending, personally. But overall, I think I have Akame ga Kill as like a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely enjoyed it. So I'll put that in the good tier. I don't know if I'll order these in each tier or if I'll just put it in the right one. We'll see. Next up, Angel Beats. One of the first anime I watched, I think. Liked it a lot as well. At the time, I liked it a lot. I think my opinion on it over time has slightly gone down just as I've seen more anime and started to kind of refine my taste in what I do and don't like about certain shows. Angel Beats, I think the best aspect was the music for sure. Those live concert scenes I liked a lot. I think Girls Dead Monster is the band name. I still listen to those songs, and I watched the show like 7 or 8 years ago at this point. I also liked the main character. I think her name was Yuri. I thought she was really good, very interesting, good. Well, I guess she wasn't the main protagonist. The guy with the orange hair was, whose name I forget. I thought he was more forgettable. Didn't really care about him as much or his romance thing. I felt like that kind of came out of nowhere. Was more invested in some of the other characters, Yuri, and then the guy with the blue hair, whose name I forget. But I really liked the music, both the like insert songs and the soundtrack. Visuals were good. Ending made me tear up. I do like shows that can get me to do that, just because I like feeling that kind of emotional connection to a show, or if I can get invested enough to actually have some kind of emotional response, I feel like that's generally a good sign. So I was a little bit confused about the very, very end of it, but overall I liked it. I feel like it was a good, one of the first 10 to 15 anime I watched. It made me more interested in anime as a medium because I really liked the music and what it did in the show, just because I've always really, really loved music. But overall, I think I also have this at like a 7.5, maybe an 8. So some of that might be nostalgia fueled. I don't know. I haven't rewatched it. I've rewatched specific scenes. The graduation scene definitely still gets to me a bit if I rewatch that, but really the music was my favorite part. I'll probably put that slightly ahead of Akame ga Kill, but it's close between the two. Okay, next. Anohana, I have not seen. I heard it was good, and I heard it was sad. I don't know if I want to watch a super sad show right now. I kind of feel like I have to be in the mood for that, or I have to not know it's going to be sad and then just get hit by it. If you know it's going to be sad before you go in, you got to plan for it. But I do have it on my watch list. I'll get to it eventually. This was also another one of like the first, one of the first anime I watched around the same time as Angel Beats. I might have even watched them back to back or really, really close to each other. It's another one where over time my opinion on it slightly went down. Like I think when I initially watched it, I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I've dropped it to maybe a 7 since then. So I still like it. I think especially the first few episodes were really strong, just when you're establishing the mystery, trying to figure out what exactly is going on. I'm not a huge horror fan, but I did like this anime. I think it was pretty gory, but it wasn't like over the top gory. The ending was pretty wild. I didn't expect what happened to actually happen. So I did enjoy the unpredictability in that sense. But overall, I thought it was engaging. It's only 12 episodes. It's an easy binge, especially because it has that mystery thriller vibe to it. And I've said it a lot on this channel, but mysteries and thrillers are my favorite genre. So definitely appreciated that. And overall, I did like it. I don't think I like it quite as much as Angel Beats or Akame ga Kill, but I also think that's good. Let me just check if I'm actually recording. Nice. We're good. Okay. So back to the tier list. Next up, A Silent Voice. I feel like this is a movie that a lot of people consider one of the best anime movies, and I don't know if I necessarily share the opinion. I did like it. I just wasn't blown away by it. I really liked the visuals and the music, like production-wise. I believe A Silent Voice is very, very strong in those regards. I did like the main characters and just how their relationship developed and their character development in general. I didn't feel as strongly about the side characters, and I think that was partially what pulled it down for me. Again, I still liked it, but some of the side characters kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. So, overall, I did like it. I teared up at the end. I thought that whole ending sequence was really, really good. And I would definitely recommend it to pretty much anybody to watch, just because I do think it's a really good standalone movie. But I wouldn't put it in this masterpiece amazing tier that a lot of people do. To me, this is also in the good tier. I think I would put it above the rest of these, just because it's the most well made, and I guess the one that I could get the most emotionally invested in, because I really did like and care about the two main characters and wanted to see them, develop and get better. From what I hear, though, the movie actually cuts a lot out of the manga, because it's hard to adapt a full manga in a movie and not cut things out. So I think I might be wrong, but I feel like I heard there's more that happens in the manga after the end of the movie, but maybe not. I'd have to double check. I am planning on reading the manga at some point just to see how it differs. Maybe the manga cuts out some more development that would make me appreciate the side characters more, and then maybe move it up to a very good in retrospect. But for now, I would put that at the top of the good tier so far. Okay, Assassination Classroom. Haven't seen it. Technically, I watched like the first 5 or 6 episodes, I think. And then I paused it and I just haven't gotten back to it. I do plan on watching it. Hear a lot of good things. All my friends who have watched it seem to really like it. I don't know. At the time, it was years and years ago, but maybe it didn't interest me, or I don't know. But I'll get to it. Attack on Titan, I don't think a whole lot needs to be said about that. Love the series. It was essentially the anime that got me into anime, and I think a lot of people share that opinion, and that's probably the reason why it's like top 3 most popular of all time. I started watching it right around when season 1 aired, or just after it, so I've been watching it since pretty much the start, always on every new season as they come out. And I feel like, aside from, so season 1 was really good, 2 and the first half of 3 were also good, but I don't think quite as good as season 1. But then from the second half of season 3 on, I feel like it's just been getting better and better as the tone of the show kind of changes, and the focus and the story. Like, it's just, the mangaka, when he was planning this out, he is just, I can't believe some of the things that happen in the beginning, and then you realize that 60 episodes later, like, holy shit, this is why that character said that or did this. Like, it's just excellent planning ahead. Obviously, I think a lot of people agree that production under MAPPA has dropped a bit compared to when it was under WIT. But the story, I think, is better now, and it doesn't really need that same level of animation because it's not as action-packed. And I mean, I watch Attack on Titan for the story. The characters too, but the story is the main thing. I love the story in Attack on Titan. Very excited for what I think will be the final part of the final season, like final season part 3 coming out next year. I hope the ending is worth all of this time and investment. I know it was kind of controversial in the manga. I don't know exactly what happens. So we'll see. Hopefully the anime fleshes it out a bit and makes it worthwhile. But I love Attack on Titan. I would put that... I'm going to put it at the top of amazing. I think if it ends well, it will end up going into the masterpiece tier for me. But for now, I'll have it in amazing. But yeah, I really like the story and how complex the characters are, and the changing factions, their development, each one's. Eren is one of the best protagonists of all time, I feel like. Armin has had some great development. Mikasa, I think, a little underused. I think she probably could have a bigger or better role. And then a bunch of the side characters, obviously. Levi's great. I think John has gotten a lot better from when he started. Gabby, I know, is very controversial, but I think she's a really good character. I really like her arc and how it's been handled. There's a lot I could say about Attack on Titan, and I don't want to linger on any one show too long, so I'm going to keep moving. But Attack on Titan is very, very, very good. This next section will go really fast because I haven't seen a bunch of these in a row. Banana Fish, have not seen, heard it was good. I think that came out in like 2018 or something. I don't know if I'll end up watching it. It's not, I don't know. I haven't ever felt super inclined to watch it, but we'll see. Black Butler, I think this is. Have not seen. Again, heard it was decent at least. Don't know if I'll end up watching it. I think the manga's still ongoing and it's been for a long time. Black Clover, haven't seen. Might end up watching it. I have a few friends who watch it and they seem to like it. I think I was around, like, active in the community watching seasonals and stuff when the show started airing, so I considered picking it up. And I saw some clip of the main character, I think Asta, just constantly screaming, and it kind of annoyed me, so I just never watched it. And I've heard he's gotten a lot better since then, but I haven't watched it. Maybe I will at some point. Bleach, have not watched. I haven't seen any of, like, the big 3 old shonens. I know Bleach is coming back with a new season next season, which I think a lot of people are excited about. If I were to check out any of the big 3, I feel like Bleach is probably the most likely just because it's the shortest, so it's the least time commitment. And I like the character designs and whatnot. But we'll see. This one is, I think, Blue Exorcist. I have not seen it. Don't know if I'll watch it. I think I maybe have one friend who's seen it and he thought it was decent, which I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about that. Bungo Stray Dogs, have not seen. I do plan on watching that. I actually went on a trip recently and I downloaded it as something that I could potentially watch, but then I ended up starting JoJo's and I think Iron Blooded Orphans Gundam series instead of this, both of which I have opinions on, but I will definitely get to this at some point. And now we're back to stuff I've actually seen, so that's good. Bunny Girl Senpai, another series like Angel Beats and another where I liked it a lot when I first watched it, and then over time, I think I've kind of come down on it a little bit. I maybe initially gave it like an 8 or 8.5, and I've dropped it to a 7 or 7.5 since then. So I still like it. I like Mai a lot. I thought she was a really good main female protagonist. Sakuta, at the time, I really, really liked him. I think I gave him Best Guy in my like 2018 awards or something. Kind of cooled off on him since then. But I like how the show is pretty segmented into each specific arc. Some of them are stronger than others. I think the first arc with just Sakuta and Mai is probably the best one. The one with his friend, I forget her name, Rio maybe, was okay. The one with his little sister was good. Kaede, I think her name is. And then there's the one with my sister, which I was probably the most iffy on that one. Overall, though, I think it's good. I want to say Cloverworks did that. Production was really good. I don't remember a whole lot about the soundtrack, but I like the character designs. Animation was clean. I think there was one change to the end of the Mai arc with like their little confrontation in the courtyard for the people who have seen it, where what happens in the light novel and the manga is a little bit different, and I prefer what happens in that. So I wish the anime didn't change that, but overall, I did like the show. You know, it's kind of a mystery thing, and like I said, I like mystery a lot. So it was interesting to figure out what exactly was happening to each person as it was going on. So I'll also put that in the good tier. I'd say probably above Another, but below Akame ga Kill. Okay, next up, Charlotte. Have not seen it. I think I'll probably watch it at some point. I think it's a key show. I like key stuff. Angel Beats, I think, was also key. So, you know, no opinion, but I'll get to it. Chuunibyou, I like this quite a bit. I think that's another key one. Kyoani. Not key. This is key. This is Kyoani. I got a little mixed up. Yeah, good show. I like Rika a lot. Rika Yuta, it's a good ship. I think the 2 seasons in the movie tells a good, succinct story. I thought the movie had a good conclusion. It was satisfying. Like a lot of rom-coms, I think it can be frustrating at times with the lack of progress. But I feel like that's also just kind of par for the course for anime. Like, you just kind of have to get used to it, and shows that actually do have progress are a lot better for it. So this one takes a long time to get it, but it does get it, and I think it's good progress. I enjoyed it when it happened. I thought the comedy was pretty consistently good. The side characters, I think Nibutani was her name, the one who was like the cheerleader, the class president or something, former Chuuni or something. I liked her a lot. The one with the two pigtails that she like swung around and hit people, I didn't like quite as much, but she had her moments. Sleeping Girl, kind of the same thing. A lot of these people, their names just kind of escape me, but overall, I did like Chuunibyou a lot, and this would actually be in the very good tier for me. I thought every season was very enjoyable, very entertaining, solid production, as always, from KyoAni. And yeah, it's just a good rom-com. So people who like them, is it the, top tier of rom-coms? No. But is it enjoyable? Definitely. And it's, leans more into the comedy than the romance, but it's definitely good. Clannad. I can say a lot about Clannad. Clannad was, I think, in my first 5 or 6 anime. Absolutely loved it. Have no idea why I went from something like Attack on Titan. I think I did like Attack on Titan, then High School of the Dead, and then Clannad, or something like that. Which is, how do you go from Attack on Titan and High School of the Dead to Clannad? I have no idea, but I'm glad I did, because Clannad means a lot to me. Definitely one of my favorite anime. I'm just gonna put it up in Masterpiece where it belongs. The first season, it's good, but it's a lot of setup, introducing you to the characters. It's very comedy leaning, aside from like the conclusion of each arc, which tends to be a little more emotional. But the meat of Clannad is the second season, which is After Story, which, as you can see here, my number 1 anime of all time. I think I really, really connected with that series emotionally, which is why I gave it one of the only 10s that I've ever given, not just to anime in general, but like movies, anime, games. I very, 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 very rarely give things a 10, and Clannad is one of the few ones that did, because of how good I thought After Story was, and just how much I could connect with it. Like that sunflower field scene, absolutely killer. Every time I watch it, it makes me tear up. The music, just like how you have like 40 episodes of build up leading to that point, and it's just so satisfying to see when you connect with the characters and really like them. Just that whole like episode, I don't know, 14 to like 19 or 14 to 21 or something like that of After Story is just so good. Like that whole arc, like, that's another, I think, Key and KyoAni. Actually gonna double check. Let's see. Yeah, KyoAni. It's just Tomoya, like my second favorite protagonist of all time. Nagisa actually wasn't my favorite girl in the show, but I liked all of them. I think they make a great pair. They're one of the best ships of all time. It's just, I could go on and on about it, and like I said earlier, I don't want to spend too much time talking about any one series, but Clannad is my favorite anime. It has been my favorite anime for 8 years. I don't see it ever not being my favorite anime, just because of how much I got attached to those characters and had that emotional investment. And yeah, it's an amazing series, and I am glad that I watched it when I did in my life, just because where I was, I could connect with what was going on for them at points. Anyway, moving on, Classroom of the Elite. That is currently airing for their season 2. So my opinion on that could change after season 2, or I think season 3 next year. But I like that a lot as well. I think the mind game aspect of it is good. I like Ai no Koji as a protagonist. I know that a lot of people say the anime kind of butchers his characterization because you miss a lot of the monologuing and stuff internally. And yeah, the internal monologues. He doesn't monologue to other people. But that helps a lot with his characterization and establishing his personality, which we don't get in the anime. So I do plan on reading the light novels regardless of how I feel about season 2 and 3. But even not having read the light novels, I still like it a lot. The story and just all the twists and turns as he like manipulates things into going the way that he wants. I never get sick of stuff like that. The cast, I think, is okay. I like Horikita in the first season. Second season, I don't like her quite as much because I feel like she makes some kind of stupid decisions that I don't understand why she does what she does. But but I do still like her, and some of the newer characters, like Ryuen, something like that. I think he's a pretty good antagonist, just how brutal he is, and compared to Ai no Koji, and I'm sure that they'll inevitably have some confrontation, and it's probably going to be pretty satisfying. Hopefully in season 2 or something. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like towards the end of the season is a big moment. I don't know. And then there's probably a bigger fish, like maybe somebody from Class A that he has to square off with in season 3 or something. But yeah, I really like the series. I like the mind games. I like the story. So I'm going to put that in good. I would probably tentatively put it here between Akame ga Kill and Bunny Girl. But but based on how season 2 and 3 end up going, could move up or down. Code Geass, I haven't seen it. It's pretty high on my plan to watch list if I were to like tier things and order it. I definitely want to see that. All my friends who have seen it think it's really good. They love Lelouch. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think C2 is the green-haired girl's name. Everybody says she's great. The story's supposed to be great. Yeah, I will definitely get around to this. I just haven't yet. Cowboy Bebop, same thing. I'll definitely get around to it, but I unfortunately haven't seen it yet. But I know that's supposed to be a classic, and I've been trying to, like, every big milestone I hit with my watches, like every 50 essentially, I try and watch a big, like, older popular anime that I haven't seen yet to knock it off my list. Like, my 250th anime was Evangelion. My 300th was Madoka. And I'm very, very close to 350 right now, so I haven't decided what I'll watch for that. But I think it'll probably end up being JoJo's, Bebop, or Code Geass. We'll see. Anyway, next up, DanMachi. A lot of seasons for that. Season 4 is currently airing. Definitely has some highs and lows. I thought the first season was pretty good. It had some good animation, good fights. I liked the cast and the arcs. The Minotaur fight always stands out to me, and then that final fight against the big monster at the end of the season was definitely a good one. Season 2, I think, was a step down. Animation was definitely not as good. I didn't think the arcs were as good. But Season 3 then kind of righted the ship. I still didn't think it was as good as Season 1. But the story was a lot more interesting with like the Xenos and the different types of monsters, just to do world building and kind of expand the possibilities in the anime. And Season 4 so far, I think arguably this first arc of Season 4 has been the best that the series has ever been. Just this whole dungeon crawling arc, and like, I don't want to talk about it a whole lot to potentially, I don't want to accidentally spoil people, but I do think based on Season 4, like, this is the best it has been. So I think they've confirmed it's 2 core, so I'm interested to see what else will happen, because this first arc is more or less wrapped up as far as I know. I'm like 1 episode behind. So we'll see how it goes, but Belle, I think, is an okay protagonist. I do like Hestia a lot, but just I like fantasy action stuff in general. Not as much as I like mystery and thriller, but I do like fantasy action, so I enjoy the genre. The characters are fine. The story, like I said, it has its ups and downs, but I feel like it's usually at least moderately interesting. So this is another one that I would put in good, and I'd probably put it... It's right around Classroom of the Elite. I'm going to put it after, just because I think overall Classroom of the Elite has been slightly better, because DanMachi had the second season that wasn't quite as good. But like I said, Season 4 has been really good so far, so this could definitely jump up if it keeps that up. Darling in the Franxx, another one that I liked a lot when I first watched it, and then my opinion on it has gone down over time. I think a big reason that I liked it a lot at the start is really, really liked the animation and the fights. I really liked the music, and I really like 02. And those are all still true. I definitely have cooled off on 02 a little bit, but I still have her as like one of my favorites, and I do still think the animation and the fights are good, and the music, of course. But and the first opening, Kiss of Death, like, that's one of my all-time favorite opening songs. All of the ending songs are really good. So like, from a production standpoint, excellent. From a story standpoint and slightly character, not good. I think the first half, like maybe even the first 15 to 18 episodes out of like 24, pretty good story. Like definitely was interested in it. I really liked essentially what was the mid-season finale. But the last arc, not so good. I not a huge fan of the ending. I didn't really like where it went personally. But this is another one where the manga, which came out later, actually has a different ending, and I haven't read that yet, so I don't know how that ends, but I'm definitely going to, just to see if I end up liking that more than the anime's ending. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that my opinion on it has fallen off a bit over time, but I do still like the production a lot. I still like 02 quite a bit, and Goro and Ichigo, I think, are the other two that I thought were pretty good for characters. I don't remember the other people's names as well. They didn't really stick with me. So overall, I'd put that in the okay one, just because the ending definitely, like the very, very, very ending, like the last couple minutes, I thought was okay. But the whole build up to get to that point, I didn't really like, personally. Deadman Wonderland, another one of the first anime that I watched. Another one that my opinion kind of went down on over time, which, you know, that's going to be very consistent for the stuff I watched earlier in my anime watching career, if you want to call it that. I liked the setup with like this whole prison that's doubles as like some death game amusement park type of thing, and the mystery quote unquote of who this like villain who got him sent to jail is. But I just, you know, not a huge fan of the characters. I don't remember anyone seeming super interesting. It's only one season. You didn't get to actually see where the story went. I think the manga's done, so I could look up how it ends, but I don't feel super inclined to. But, you know, it was entertaining enough with the fights, especially for like a first anime. If I were to watch it for the first time now, after I've seen like almost 350-ish, I think I definitely would have it lower than I would having watched it, you know, years and years ago. But I'm going to put that in okay decent, behind Darling in the Franxx. It has some good scenes, but yeah, it's nothing spectacular. Death Note. Death Note was the very first anime I ever watched. So I like it for nostalgia reasons. I think the first 2/3 of the show, like, excellent. The whole battle between Light and L, just all of the mind games, the cat and mouse, it's so good. But then the last third of it, really not as into. I don't like the new characters who get introduced even remotely as much as I like the characters from the first 2/3. I thought the ending was fine, but just that last third kind of drags it down for me. But the first 2/3 are excellent, like top tier mystery thriller stuff, which, again, one of my favorite genres, and it is my first anime, so I'll always kind of like it for that reason alone, just for the nostalgia, for introducing me to the medium. Well, I guess it technically wasn't my first, because I saw like the Pokemon movie when I was a kid, but it was my first as a teenager, really discovering anime as a whole and what it can actually offer. But yeah, just because of how much I like those first 2/3, I'm gonna put it in very good. Probably behind. I think I gave both of these like an 8, so yeah, I'll probably put it behind Chuunibyou, just because that last 1/3 kind of pulls it down for me. But still, definitely a good one that I would recommend, that most people should watch, just because of how classic it is for the anime. Like, this is one of the most popular for a reason. It's a lot of people's first, or like first 5, and I think everybody should watch it. Same thing I feel about like Evangelion. Everybody should watch it. Yeah, next up, Death Parade. Great standalone, like 12 episodes, succinct story. I liked the main characters. I liked the whole death game aspect, with just these people, literally quote unquote, putting their lives on the line, and then having their true personalities and backstories and stuff revealed. Like, it was always interesting. This is another kind of mystery thriller thing, which I liked. Visuals, excellent. It has a really cool style. You can even kind of see it in the key art with like the colors. The opening is one of the best of all time. Flyers, I think it's called. You can never go wrong with that. Don't have a whole lot else to say about it. Ending, I thought, was very satisfying. Made me tear up. So I would put this in good, and I would probably put it right here, behind Akame ga Kill, because this is longer and there's just more story for me to enjoy. Classroom of the Elite, like I said, it could move up or down, but from where it is now, I think this is pretty fair. Demon Slayer, definitely have some opinions on that. There is no denying production is excellent. The music and the animation especially. I forget how to pronounce the studio exactly, if it's Ufotable or... I think it's Ufotable. They're just... anything that they do is always excellent production-wise. Demon Slayer is no exception. The fights, like even in the TV anime, they look movie quality. The story, I think, is interesting. Like, I do like this whole demons that need to be hunted down with, like, you know, there's the upper tier demons that they're hunting, and then the leader that Tanjiro and co are just gradually getting stronger to eventually fight. I'm sure I like the kind of mentor characters in the Hashira. Well, they vary. I like some of them and I don't like some of them. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but based on the anime, I just assume each season is going to be like this one contained arc, kind of like Entertainment District arc, and we'll just have like a different Hashira as the mentor of that arc, essentially. Season 1 I thought was pretty good as a whole. Season 2 and the movie, I would say, are probably on the same level or slightly better than Season 1, so it's been getting better. But my biggest issue with Demon Slayer is the characters. Like, I really just don't care or don't like most of them. Don't care about or don't like most of them. Especially Zenitsu. Like, his constant screaming is just insufferable. Like, it makes me angry. A little angry when I'm watching the show and he just starts going off on one of his scream tangents. And I do think that as the series has gone on, he has gotten better. He's developed for sure. And you can see that in the second season. Inosuke was the same. He didn't annoy me as much in the first season as Zenitsu did, but still a little bit to an extent. And I think he's also gotten a lot better as the show has gone on. So I think, you know, there's definitely potential for it to keep getting better. I think it stumbled a bit in the first season just because of how annoying some of the characters were. But they definitely are developing and getting better. So I would probably put this in very good, just because, you know, even with those things about the characters, just because of how stellar the production is and the story is good. Like, it's a very easy watch, and a lot... I don't know. I don't know exactly where I was going with it, but like, its story is not as good as like Death Note, and I wouldn't say it's as endearing as like Chuunibyou, but it's definitely enjoyable as an action romp. Like, just the darker tone, they don't shy away from the gore. It's a good series. It's entertaining. I just think some of the characters leave some to be desired. Devilman Crybaby. I might get flamed on this for a bit, but not a huge fan. I know a lot of people really like it. One of my friends really likes it, so it's a bit of a point of contention if the show comes up. But for me, I really, again, another series that I love the production for, like the animation, I love that art style and just how fluid and dynamic things look. The soundtrack is phenomenal. But like, I really liked the first 6 or 7 episodes. Like, for me, I think the peak was the whole like containment camp, and then the episode like after that, which was like the baton pass, which if you've seen the show, you know what I mean by the baton pass and what happens after that. Like, that is a great, like, I would even maybe say that episode is in my top 25 episodes of all time for just anime in general. But I did not like the ending. I understand to an extent what it was going for, but I just didn't like it. And unfortunately, I felt so strongly about how it ended and how, I don't know if I want to say abstract, but just not a fan of how it ended, and unfortunately that kind of drags down the rest of the show for me. But for sure, the journey to get to the ending is enjoyable, and the production, again, excellent. Characters, don't feel super strongly about any of them other than Miki, I think her name was, the friend of the main character, which was another thing that like didn't really stand out to me. But since the production was really good and the story for like the first 3/4 was really good, and that one episode, I would put this in the okay section, at the top of it. I think objectively, like, it's probably better than some of these shows that I have in the good tier, but just personally, like, my personal enjoyment factor was lower because of how it ended. Like, I just did not gel with that. Anyway, moving on. Dororo, kinda, I don't know, great opening. I gave that my best OP of the year award, and I think this came out in 2019. Yeah, that, maybe it was 18. Forget if it was 18 or 19, but definitely a banger. And I feel like the show was enjoyable, but I didn't necessarily like the older art. Like, I prefer the newer art style that anime has compared to the older one. So I wasn't super into like the character designs, but I did think the animation was really good. And then the story, like, I just didn't feel super enamored with it. Like, it was fine. Like, it did its job. But the story and characters, like, I actually would even say that maybe my favorite character was Hyakimaru's brother, whose name I forget. But I really liked his kind of arc. But aside from that, like, I just didn't feel super strongly about it. So this is another one I would put in okay, under Devilman. It has good aspects, and I think if you want just a pretty rough, not rough, like rough as in like darker action show, like, this is probably a good choice. And it does some things well for sure, but just personally wasn't super invested in it. Dragon Ball, haven't watched. I know it's a classic, but there's just so much of it, and I'm not super interested in it, so probably won't watch it. Dr. Stone, really, really like Dr. Stone, which is kind of ironic because I borderline dropped it after the first like 5 or 6 episodes. Like, I really was not liking it at the start. So if other people are in the same boat, I would say stick with it. You can see here I have it at my number 23 of all time. I think the first season, I like science a lot. Like, that was always my favorite subject in school. And so seeing like Senku bring science to these more primitive people who don't know it, and just their awe and appreciation of how it changes their lives, like, I really like that. I think it's just a really fun, entertaining show in general as an adventure. How it constantly keeps bringing these new factions and new characters, and Senku keeps bringing new and new technology, like the way that he starts from literally nothing to where they are now after the special that just came out last month, I think, the Ryusei special, or Ryusui, something like that. Second season I thought was like just as good as the first season. Essentially, it was shorter, but short and succinct. It was a good arc, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it continue. I really, really love a good adventure. Dr. Stone is a great adventure, and I really like the cast. Like, Senku, Kohak, like, there is not a character that I don't like in that. Like, maybe the little like chibi looking guy who's the friend of the tough blonde guy from the village. I'm totally blanking on their names. He's not great, but like everybody else in the main cast, like, I actually like everybody. It's a great, great show. So I'm gonna put that at the top of very good. Next up, Durarara. I think that's the right number of Ra's. Have not seen it. Planning on watching it. Heard good things. I think it's a complete story, which I like. Yeah, I'll get to it. High School DxD. Also haven't seen it. I am going to watch it at some point. I like the character designs. I think a lot of people probably like the character designs, even if they haven't seen it, just because. But yeah, I'll get to it. I've heard it's okay, but I'm sure it's entertaining. Elfen Lied or Lied, I don't know. I'm going to say Elfen Lied. Not a big fan. That was another one of the anime I watched earlier on. Just has not really stuck with me. I felt like it was gory for the sake of being gory. I didn't really care about the characters. Story was not super interesting, but it was short, so it was easy to watch. I don't know. I think that's a pretty unpopular opinion, but I don't know. I just didn't connect with the show, like, pretty much at all. There was a couple good scenes. I feel like there was something on a train towards the middle I remember being good. The first scene with, like, the containment breach where she breaks out of, like, that holding cell she's kept in was pretty good. I think there was a backstory episode for, like, this girl or her sister or clone or whatever it is, that I thought was good. So it has its moments, but overall I just was not super into it. I would put that in the not great, personally. Next up, how many are... we're doing okay. I don't know how long this is going to end up being, so I'll probably put timestamps in for each show or something. But anyway, Erased. I liked Erased a lot. Again, mystery thriller. I really like mystery thrillers. That's just kind of a instant bump up, in my opinion, on it. I think the ending could have been a little better. There were some aspects to it that I wasn't fully satisfied with, but I wouldn't say it was bad by any... and I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say there. It wasn't bad, for sure, the ending. But I really liked the journey to get to the ending, and just the mystery of who the killer is. It's one of those types of shows, but yeah, definitely a good mystery, a good story, and I think it's worth watching if you like the genre, for sure. I would put that after Dr. Stone, before Chuunibyou. I do think because some people weren't thrilled about the ending, they would probably put it more in, like, good instead of very good, but I think the journey was good enough to negate what happened at the ending for this show. And again, I didn't think the ending was bad by any means, but it wasn't as satisfying as it could have been. Certainly a good mystery. Evangelion. I'm gonna get maybe ripped apart for this, but I did not care for Evangelion. I understand a lot of the symbolism that it was going for, and I think it was interesting. Like, a lot of the religious imagery was interesting. But I just, did not care for the ending again. And I think for me, there are cases where if I don't like the ending, like Erased, it's not that I didn't like it, but I wasn't super satisfied. But a lot of times, if I don't care for the ending, it kind of pulls my opinion of the show down as a whole. Again, like Darling in the Franxx was like that. Devilman was like that. It's just, I really appreciate what Evangelion did. I respect it. I think because it's such a classic and it had so much influence on anime, like, everybody who watches anime should watch Evangelion and make their own opinion about it. But personally, I wasn't a huge fan. I did like Asuka. I did not like Shinji. I thought Rei was okay. I basically didn't like any character other than Asuka or Misato. There are definitely good scenes and fights. I think, like, from episode 12 to, like, 20 or something like that is probably what I would consider, like, the peak of the show, entertainment wise. But I absolutely hated the last 2 episodes of the normal series. And I know that that's, like, common. There's a reason that those episodes are so low budget compared to everything else, and then they ended up making the movie. But I hated those last 2 episodes. They were so painful to sit through. The movie is certainly better about rectifying that, but even the movie's ending I was not a huge fan of. And another thing that Evangelion did a lot that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was how long it would just sit on one frame or shot with nothing happening, like no dialogue, just there. I can think of at least 2 instances off the top of my head, one of Shinji at the train station and one of Shinji in his mech, and he's holding a different character in his mech's hand. And it literally, if I remember correctly, is like 30 seconds straight. of no dialogue, nothing happening. Excuse me. Just that one frame. Maybe it slightly zooms in or slightly zooms out, and that's it. And I'm like, why? Why do you just have to sit on this one frame? And that's a super minor nitpick, so, you know. But it bothered me when I was watching it because it happened multiple times and I noticed every time it did. Like, at least pan the camera around or something. But yeah, like I was saying, I respect what Evangelion did. I think everybody should watch it just because of how influential and important it is to anime as a whole. But personally, I was not a big fan. I would probably put that at the top of not great, maybe the end of okay, decent. Well, it's probably better than Deadman Wonderland. I'll probably put it ahead of Darling just because, like, of its influence. Like, Darling is more entertaining to me just because the production is a lot better in my opinion. This is, Evangelion's still great production for how old it is too. Like, don't get me wrong. I still like the animation and the music, and obviously it has one of the best openings of all time. But I'll put it above these just because of what it did for the medium. Yeah, I know that's not a popular opinion. I know Evangelion is a pretty contentious anime in general. All of my friends loved it. I'm the only one who really didn't care for it, which is too bad. But yeah, not my favorite thing. Anyway, moving on. Fairy Tail. Haven't seen it. I do plan on watching it at some point. I thought they did a final season, and then I just saw earlier today that they've announced a sequel, which I thought it adapted the full manga, so I don't know if it's original or if there's actually more of the manga that didn't get adapted. So I don't know, but I like the character designs. I've seen some good clips of it. My friends who have seen it liked it, so I'll get to it at some point. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to try and go a little bit faster just because there's still a good amount here, and I don't know how long it's been. But we'll see. Fate Zero. This was my introduction to the Fate franchise, and Fate is now one of my favorite franchises of all time. I play FGO a shit ton. I have a lot of videos of it on my channel for like gacha. I love the characters. I love the story. There's just so much in Fate to like and appreciate. So Fate Zero is a great introduction to that, but it's not my favorite of the Fate series. Like you can see in my top 25 here on the right side, I have Fate Unlimited Blade Works as number 25. I have Fate Babylonia as, what is this? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 12. I just slightly found those more entertaining, but I think Fate Zero is the best entry point to the series for sure. Just the whole story of this summon servants. Oops, I accidentally hit my mic there. I hope it didn't make a big noise. Summon famous servants from or famous people from history to fight as your servants for this Holy Grail war, where the Grail will grant you a wish if you win it and eliminate the other masters and their servants. Like, it's just such a cool concept. The animation, ufotable, amazing. The soundtrack, I think it's Yuki Kajiura, amazing. It's definitely a great anime. I think everybody should watch. You don't have to get as into Fate as me, but if you're going to watch a Fate anime, I think you should watch Fate Zero. Fate Zero is also nice because it's pretty much an all-adult cast, and you don't see that super often in anime, so, as an adult, I appreciate that. I love the franchise so much, and it's a great entry point, and I would recommend just about everybody watch that. So I would put that. I wasn't as into the first half as the second half, but the second half was super, super good. I would put it just under Dr. Stone on my list. Yeah, it's a great series. Fire Force. Definitely has highs and lows. Production, excellent. The animation, I think it's David Production. They also do JoJo's. The animation is so good. I love the character designs. There's a lot of nifty visual effects. I think the sound design there's like a lot of bass for like the big booms and effects and stuff that I liked. Story I thought was pretty interesting, even though it kind of goes a little bit off the rails. I haven't actually seen season 2 yet. I've only seen season 1, so what I'm saying is only applicable to my opinion of season 1, so it could change when I get around to 2, and I think they announced 3. But characters, not great. Some of them are good. Some of them are not. Tamaki, like, I really like, she has one of my favorite character designs in the whole series, but I feel like they just waste her character. Like, all she is just walking or fan service, essentially. Like, there was one fight that happened, I remember, it was like, I really liked the build up and the fight was really good, and just in the middle of the fight, there's a random Tamaki fan service thing that completely pulled me out of what had been a really good fight because it was so unnecessary. Like, I get it, right? It's a shonen manga, and there's usually fan service in them at some point, right? But it goes too over the top with Tamaki in particular, which is unfortunate because I like her as a character, but it's just too much. And it just kind of lessens what her character could be, in my opinion. And I don't think that's limited. The fan service is pretty limited to her and her interactions with other people. But characters in general, I think, are one of the weaker aspects of the show. So it needs to work on that, and maybe it does in season 2, and I just don't know it yet because I haven't seen it. And maybe it continues to in season 3. I don't know. But, you know, it's entertaining just because of the fights in production, at least. And like I said, I do think the story is at least kind of interesting. So I'll put that in good. Probably it's hard to order these 3 because DanMachi, like, there's more. I think I like fantasy stuff more than I liked Fire Force, or the fantasy stuff here. I'd probably put it, between DanMachi and Bunny Girl. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. What even needs to be said about that? Masterpiece. Another one of my only 10 out of 10s. Everything about this anime is spectacular. Story, great. You know, very engaging. Lots of good development for the characters. Very satisfying ending. A great hook at the start. Huge cast. Everybody I thought was really well written. Ed, Winry, Mustang, and I liked Hohenheim. I thought his arc was good. Greedling was probably my favorite character in the show. There's Scar, excellent. There's just so many good characters. The story is so good. The animation is great. The soundtrack is great. Voice act, like, there is nothing that I can really think of to fault Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, it is one of the greatest anime of all time. Everybody needs to watch that series. I don't have anything else to say. Food Wars. Another one of my favorite series. You can see I have it at number 11 of all time. Kind of weird that this is a row of 9. Like, I'd prefer if it was a row of 10 to make it a little easier to keep track of what number things are. But number 11 of all time. It was in my top 10 at first, but it ended up dropping out after the 5th season. It's not as, like, the last arc is the weakest, which is unfortunate. I still like how the series ends. But yeah, the last arc was not the best ending point. Even despite that, though, like, that, I gave every other season a 9, and then that last one was, like, not as good, but it was like a 7.5 to me. And it actually changed a little bit of what happened in the manga that people really didn't like to actually be better changes. So I appreciated that because I had read that part of the manga and I was not looking forward to seeing it animated, but they changed like 2 or 3 different things off the top of my head to make them, I thought, much more palatable in the anime, which I appreciated. But to me, Food Wars is one of those shows that's just like pure fun to watch, essentially. Like, the cast is super, super varied, but like, I love all of the main characters. Like, Soma is one of my favorite protagonists. Erina was one of my like OG waifus who, she's not in my list anymore, but I still like her. Alice is great. Aldini, another one of my best guys. Like, I love that guy. Just the main cast is so fun. I love their dynamics. I love the development, like the changing sides and how Soma just keeps winning people over. Like that whole show is just, it's a feel good show. Like, it's super fun. It's just, man, I love that cast. I love them. So I'm putting this in amazing, below Attack on Titan, which you can see is my number 6. But one of my favorite anime. I love that series. The OG Fullmetal Alchemist, I think like 2003. Have not seen it. I heard, there's aspects to it that people think are actually better than Brotherhood, but also ones that people think are worse. I don't know if I'll end up getting to it. But yeah, that's in the top 100. Future Diary, another one that I think is pretty conflicting for a lot of people. I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth watching. Definitely, I see why people don't like the main character. I'm also not a huge fan. But I like Yuno. I think she's a good... She's like a protagonist and an antagonist at the same time. I don't really know what you would call that. But again, mystery thriller. I like that. I liked just the whole like battle death game aspect to it. It's been a while since I watched it, so I'm a little hazy. I recall the soundtrack being pretty good. I can picture a few of the tracks in my head right now that still stick with me, even though I saw it like 6 or 7 years ago or something. And I thought the story was entertaining. Like, a lot happens, but it's a good popcorn show. So I would put this in good, probably here. Fire Force, better production and whatnot, but Future Diary, I actually like, unironically, like, I enjoyed Future Diary. And a lot of people like, oh, it's ironically, no, like, I actually liked it. Guilty Crown, another kind of contentious one. Another one that I think has excellent production. Great soundtrack, some great fighting animation. Did not care for the main character. I think he was kind of annoying for like the first, I don't know, half. And then he got better, and then he kind of got worse. Wasn't a huge fan of the ending. I wasn't really a huge fan of most of the characters in general, really. Story was okay. I think it took a turn I didn't necessarily expect it to take. But the series is mostly carried by the production. And, some of that is certainly... It's good, like, great music. I still listen to a lot of the soundtrack from it. The opening, My Dearest, like, that might be my favorite opening of all time. Just, it's such a good opening. So the characters leave some to be desired, but the story is like good enough, and the production is good enough that I still think it's worth watching if you like action stuff. But yeah, the characters are kind of aggravating. So I would put this in okay, probably around here. Yeah, that seems fair to me. Gurren Lagann, right up to masterpiece with you. Another one of the first, well, maybe not one of the first I watched, but I think it was in my first like 25 or so. Would you look at that? 2 of my only 10. These are my only 10s. These 3 right here. It's another one kind of like Food Wars, where the story isn't like the main draw. I think the best thing is the characters. Like, the cast is great, and the story is better than Food Wars for sure. But I love the cast. Like, Simone, his development in Gurren Lagann is amazing. Kamina is a great mentor character. I liked Yoko a lot. I'm blanking on the blonde guy's name who joins the group kind of towards the beginning, but I liked him. Viral, I thought, was a great antagonist. I really liked how surprised I was after the first third of the show. I think the second third was a good like development phase for Simone and the rest of the crew. And then the last third was like peak Gurren Lagann. Like, this is where the whole meme of going to space for a Trigger anime comes from. This is the anime that made me love Trigger. Like when I saw Promare in theaters back in 2019, all of the Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill references, it was just so fun to see those things as like a callback to what, made them great. Well, I guess I don't know if this was actually Trigger or Sunrise or when they split off. Like there was something going on. I consider it a Trigger anime. Man, I love Gurren Lagann. The animation is great. The fights are great. Characters are great. Soundtrack is great. Like With Your Drill, I think there's a song called With Your Drill Pierce the Heavens, which is a slower one, and I love that. I think that plays during like, no spoilers, but the When Did You Get Taller Than Me scene. Like that is one of my favorite scenes of all time. It's one of my favorite episodes of all time. Like I will always get choked up when I see that When Did You Get Taller Than Me scene. And then there's a With Your Drill Pierce the XXX or something like that, which is like the more hype action version of that theme. Another great track. The opening is another iconic one. The insert song in like the kind of Simone Awakening is another great one. I wouldn't call it an awakening, but you know what I mean if you've seen the show. Again, it's another show like Fullmetal where I could just go on and on about how much I actually like the characters and where it goes, but it's a very solid 10 for me, and it will always, I think, be in my top like 5. Haikyuu. I haven't seen Haikyuu. I heard good things. Some of my mutuals on Twitter really like it. A couple of my friends have seen it and like it. I'll probably hold off until I think they announced some movies recently that might finish adapting the series, so maybe I'll hold off until that happens and then I can kind of binge through everything. We'll see. High School of the Dead, I mentioned that earlier. It was one of my first anime. Like, it might have actually been my second, or not second. It was like Death Note, and then I watched a movie that will show up later in this list, and then Attack on Titan, and then I think High School of the Dead was the next one I watched because I wanted another like good quote unquote, another like high-paced action series or fast-paced action series. And I like it. It's another one where over time my opinion on it slightly came down because I've seen more anime. I kind of refined what I like, but just purely for nostalgia, like it's a fun show. It's really unfortunate that it ends with a to be continued. And then I think the author of the manga died and they just never made another season and the story never got concluded. Really unfortunate that all happened, obviously, but purely for nostalgia, like I really enjoyed, I like zombie stuff. I grew up playing Call of Duty Zombies as a kid. Like it was always one of my favorite games. So, these people just killing zombies in a zombie apocalypse, right up my alley. So I would put this, it's kind of carried by nostalgia for me, but I'm going to put it in good, probably after another. Okay, next up, Horimiya. So this is one of those examples of something that came from AniList where it's a newer series, and it's not in the most popular on MyAnimeList, but because I think AniList leans this newer, younger crowd, this show ended up in the top 100. And I liked it. I actually read the whole manga for Horimiya before I watched the anime. And I thought it was a really good adaptation. Like, they cut out half of the manga, essentially. They pretty much just adapted the first half and then the last chapter. So if you liked the anime, there's a lot more stuff in the second half, but it's pretty much all just, like, slice of life. Like, there's no significant story. They adapted all of the worthwhile story, from what I can remember. But I like Miyamura and Hori a lot. I like their relationship for the most part. There's aspects to it that kind of bother me at points, but for the most part, I like them. I think it's a good rom-com. I like the cast. So I think I'd probably put that in very good, but at the very end of the list. I could maybe see an argument for like towards the top of good, but I think I gave it an 8. So, I'm considering this 8. So it's like my lowest 8 of these. Next up, Howl's Moving Castle. Haven't seen it. I think that's a Ghibli film. I'll get to it at some point. Hunter x Hunter. Haven't seen it. I'll get to it at some point, most likely. Everybody says how good it is. I would like to see how good it is for myself, but it's like 125 episodes, and I have a really hard time committing to stuff that's more than 24 episodes. Like, it's so much. Like, it's kind of a dumb way of looking at it, but I'm like, how many 12-episode shows could I finish in the same time that it takes me to watch this? and I end up just picking, there's a lot of shows on my watch list. So I could watch only this, or I could watch like 12 other shows in the same amount of time. So I usually end up picking the other shows, but I will get to it eventually, especially if the mangaka ends up coming back and finishing the series, so at least there's an ending that I can check out. Yeah. Hyoka I haven't seen. Pretty high up on my watch list as well. I really like Chitanda's design, and I believe it's like a mystery anime, which, again, like that a lot. So I will definitely get to it at some point, but I just haven't yet. We're getting close here. JoJo's, this is part 1 and 2. I'm going to put this in haven't seen it. I have watched part 1, but I haven't watched part 2. Part 1 I thought was okay. I know people generally consider it the worst. I wasn't like enamored with it. I honestly think most of the appeal came from seeing where a lot of the memes came from, like the meeting Speedwagon and the to be continued, and JoJo, I'm throwing away my humanity line from Dio and stuff like that. Like, it was funny seeing where all that came from. I wasn't super engaged with it, but it was entertaining enough. But I hear part 2 and on are a lot better, so I'll get to those too. Same thing, JoJo part 3, more of the same. Obviously, I'll watch them in order, so I'll get to it, but I just haven't yet. Jujutsu Kaisen, probably one of the best anime that's come out of the last like 2 to 3 years. I did not like the movie as much as the main series, but love the main series. Just Gojo, great character. Itadori, Nobara, Fushiguro, they're all really fun. I like the rest of the cast. I like the antagonists and the back and forth we have. I like the production, again, excellent. Like, the animation is so good. I'm pretty sure I gave it best animation in my 2021 awards. It maybe best action too. Great series. I would put it in amazing. I also really liked the first ending song, the one where they're like dancing in that like whitish background, I think. And the insert song during one of the fights in the final arc, also really good. There's a lot to really like. Like, I like the darker tone of the story. I just appreciate stuff like that. The last arc with the 3 of them on their own without Gojo, fighting the multiple curses, I thought was really good. It's a great series. Kaguya-sama, best rom-com, I would maybe say. You can see it here. It's what is this, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, my number 16 of all time. But I believe I haven't updated this since I finished season 3, so it will move up. Season 3, I think, was the best season of it so far. Very, very, very long awaited scene that was a great finale point. I've also read the manga for it. I think I'm caught up, or I'm really close to being caught up, and I know the manga's actually ending within like the next 10 chapters or something, so it's getting close, and I know there's another season of the anime, a movie announced. So I'm looking forward to that. But Kaguya-sama is peak rom-com. It's as good as you can get for rom-com. Love the characters. I love the cast, the dynamics. The comedy is just hysterical. I think there's probably not an episode that I don't laugh out loud at. That Shirogane rap scene in the 3rd season just killed me. I've rewatched it so many times. The voice actors all just put their all into that series, and you can really tell how much fun they have playing those characters. They're all excellent. Just Kaguya-sama's best thing is how fun and how good the characters are. And the production too. Like, there's so many cool directorial choices in that, with how shots are framed and like multiple shots in the screen at the same time. I'm not sure what the term for that is, but it makes it really interesting visually. So, like, coming from the manga and seeing how it's adapted, like, I really, really like, this has to be one of the best, if not the best, adaptations of a manga that I've personally seen, in terms of how much love and care is put into it. Like, it's such a great series. So I don't know where exactly this will fall. It's definitely in amazing. I think it's going to be above Jujutsu when I update it next. It might end up above Food Wars, but I need to think about it. My one gripe with the show is how they arranged the final scene of of season 3. It's a little bit different than the manga, and like I said, I think it's a great adaptation of the manga, but I preferred how the manga ordered the series of events in that final scene. I wish the anime didn't change that. I think it makes it hit a little less hard, which is too bad. So I gave the season 3 a 9.5. I really wanted to give it a 10, but I just couldn't because of that last part of the last scene of the last episode. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Overall, though, like I said, one of the best rom-coms of all time, if not the best. Definitely need to watch that if you have any interest in the genre at all. Kakegurui, I think that's pretty fun. Yumiko, great protagonist. I haven't seen the spin-off yet, but she's really entertaining. It's just like one of those turn your brains off and just enjoy like the craziness, and it's so over the top, but that makes it pretty entertaining, I think. All of these like crazy risks that they go through just to gamble is, I don't know how they come up with these ideas, but it's very entertaining for sure. The ending songs as well for both season 1 and season 2, especially season 1, amazing. Like those are probably both in my top 25 endings. I'd have to double check my list. But yeah, great songs. I would put it in good, probably here. Like I wish there was a little bit more story or progression. Like season 2 kind of just left off like what felt like almost in the middle of the arc, if I remember correctly, but I think it had pretty much adapted up to the manga at the time. I could be totally wrong there. I don't remember exactly. But I hope we get more of the main series. I still need to watch the spinoff, like I said. But anyway, Kill la Kill. Another trigger one. Wasn't as into it at first, but it definitely got me as it kept going. I actually watched Kill la Kill dubbed, and I thought the dub for that was excellent. Like, I watched clips of it subbed too, just to compare, and I think I prefer the dub. Like, they're both good, don't get me wrong, but Kill la Kill is one of those animes where I think the dub is as good, if not better. Gurren Lagann is another one like that. Fullmetal Alchemist is like that. Yeah, there's not a lot where I would say I prefer the dub, but those three are ones where I would. Kill la Kill, very, very over the top. There's arguments about the whole sexuality aspect of it, like embracing it versus is the whole point of the show embracing it, or is it really just milking it? I would fall a little bit more in the camp of the former, but I don't read too much into that. I was mostly there just because I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. The animation, excellent, as expected of Trigger action stuff. The soundtrack is great. Characters are a lot of fun. Comedy is great. I thought the story was better than I expected. I liked how it ended. It's a lot of fun in general. I would put that in very good, and I would probably put it probably here, after Fate, but before Erased. Oh man, to keep going, keep powering through. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, very solid, just slice of life comedy from KyoAni. It's one of those shows that just shows how good they are with character animations. Like how expressive every character is just excellent. KyoAni puts a lot of love and care into how they animate the characters, and then there's the random fight scenes where the animation is better than most battle like shonen anime. Like, it's crazy when KyoAni just goes hard and flaunts what they can really do. Season 2 came out last year. I thought it was better than Season 1. I really like the Toru Kobayashi ship. I like Elma a lot as a side character. Not as into Quetzalcoatl and the guy that she's always with. Kana's okay. There are aspects of the show, usually around Kana, that kind of again, make me a little uncomfortable at times, which is partly why I can't put it too high, because, if I'm a little bothered when I'm watching the show, it is what it is. But overall, I still think it's a very heartwarming show. It's very funny. I really like the character dynamics, so it's a good watch for fans of comedy slice of life. I think it's just, you kind of have to acknowledge that there are some aspects to it that people are going to find uncomfortable, and they might not enjoy the show as much because of that. But overall, I think the comedy it's worth it in the end. So I would put that in good, and I would probably put it I prefer stuff with story over comedies generally. I'd probably put it here. It's close between DanMachi and Kobayashi. But yeah. Now, speaking of comedy, we have Konosuba, one of the best comedies in anime, in my opinion. I love the series. All my friends really like it. Aqua is my best girl from the show. If you disagree, maybe we'll have a little bit of an issue, but everybody's good. I actually still haven't seen the movie. I've been slacking a lot. I need to get to that. I know they announced season 3 and the Megumin spinoff, which I'm excited about, but Konosuba is one of those shows where just every episode, the voice actors again are so good in embodying these characters and how over the top they are. The animation so expressive for all of just the stupid faces and they make and the things they do. Yeah, it's a great series. It's borderline in my top 20. It has been in my top 25 before it fell out as I watched other stuff, but I really, really like Konosuba. I would probably put it up here in very good, again, just because of how entertaining it is and how much I love the comedy and the character dynamics and everything. Maybe below Fate. Yeah, great comedy. Made in Abyss. Definitely, again, have some opinions about that. First season I thought was borderline perfect. That was another one where I gave it a 9.5, and just because of one little thing, I couldn't quite give it a 10. Which was, the author is not afraid to kind of put in, what's a good way to word this to not get bonked by YouTube? The author is into some things, to put it mildly, and the author has no problem putting those things into the show. And, everybody likes what they likes. I'm not really going to judge, but I find a lot of those things that they just kind of push in to be, again, things that kind of make me uncomfortable, and it seems really unnecessary to be in the, especially in season 2, the first couple episodes, there's multiple scenes that I think you easily could have cut out and not lost anything. Those were completely unnecessary scenes to the story, to the character, to literally the entire series. And they're just in there because the author wanted to put them in there. And I don't like those. So, unfortunately, my opinion on the show has kind of been going down over time because of the author doing that so much, especially in season 2. I still like the story a lot. Season 2's story, definitely good. But there's just too much of the other stuff, unfortunately. But season 1, basically perfect. That, I think it was episode 10, was just oh my god, when I watched that the first time. The soundtrack from Kevin Penkin is spectacular. Guy is one of the best in the business for OSTs for anime. Did a great job with Shield Heroes as well. But Maid in Abyss in particular is just excellent. The story is great. The art is fantastic. I like the characters. I'm not super enamored with them, but they're fine. I like the really dark tone and just the things that they have to go through and fight against. But I just think with each consecutive release of the series, I've kind of cooled off on it more and more. Season 1, I had as a solid 9.5, borderline 10. The movie, I think I had as an 8. I still really liked it. I liked Prushka. I liked the arc with her and Bone Druid. but I didn't like it quite as much as season 1. And season 2, I think it's still airing, so I don't know exactly how it will end, but I think it's going to be lower than the movie for me. So currently I have it as 11, 12, 13, 14 on my list, and chances are that's going to drop. I don't know how significantly, but it's definitely going to drop. So I would, if it was just based on season 1, it would be an amazing. Including the movie, it would be like towards the beginning of very good. After season 2, it might like be end of very good. I'd probably put it here. That could change. Again, there's still like 4 episodes of the second season left, I think. So I don't know exactly how it will go, but yeah, just unfortunately, there's certain things about it that I don't enjoy and can't quite get over because of how unnecessary they are to include in the anime. Anyway, I still like the series, but it's just, yeah. Madoka, I mentioned that earlier. That was my 300th anime. Definitely enjoyed it. I didn't think it was like the second coming of whatever, but I liked it. I think the music was really, really good. I liked the story. I actually haven't seen the movie, and I think the movie is where Hamura Does Nothing Wrong comes from. So I don't know exactly what happens in that to get her that, but I kind of see where it might go based on the show. And I did like the show. I liked the story and the action and the music. So Madoka was a good protagonist. I liked the contrast between her and Hamura. I think Sayaka was the blue hair girl's name. I liked her, and Mami was the other one. She was good. Yeah, overall, it's definitely a very good show. I would put that probably like this. Could go up after I watch the movie. And I know they announced another movie to that, which people have been waiting for a long time. So that's exciting. I'll have to get to it at some point. Maid Sama, have not seen. I don't really know anything about it. Mob Psycho 100, didn't really like the first season. Like, I thought it was fine. The animation was good and the OP was good, but that was really all I cared about. Second season was much, much better. I felt like the character development was better. The story was more interesting. The characters were more interesting. The OP was still really good. Production, like top tier, some of the best animation I've ever seen. Super dynamic, very fluid, stuff flying all over the screen. Like, there's this crazy sense of motion. It's all good. So the show has definitely jumped up to very good after the second season for me. And I know the third season comes out starting in October, I believe. So I'm definitely looking forward to that because I think it should finish adapting the series. I think at the end of very good for now is fine, but chances are after season 3 it will jump further up, probably towards at least the middle of very good, maybe higher if it ends really, really well. Monogatari, haven't seen. Very high on my watch list. That's another one I'm considering for my 350th. I think this is Bakemonogatari specifically, which is like the first one of the series. Obviously, I hear a lot of conflicting things about that because Monogatari is a very what's the word I'm looking for? A very contentious anime. But, I'm looking forward to checking it out for myself. Mushoku Tensei, another one like Monogatari, very contentious. I personally like it, but like Made in Abyss, there are aspects to it that make me kind of uncomfortable, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. And it's one of those things that, like, I would like to recommend Mushoku Tensei to people because I think the story is very interesting. The production, top tier. And some of the characters I do like. I like Eris and I like Roxy. But there's a lot, it's one of those things where you have to recommend with a caveat. Like, you have to warn people about what they might see in the show that they might find uncomfortable. And you can't really, like, I can't recommend it to people without saying something like that personally. But, you know, I'm able to look at the overarching anime as a whole, and I really like the story. I think it's very interesting. I think it got better and better as it went on. There's definitely some character development, and I think the second season was good at showcasing some of that character development and just more interesting things happening in the story. The world building, also excellent. So I would probably put it also in very good. Probably. I think this seems fair. I'm definitely interested in watching more of it because I hear the story continues to get good. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. My Hero Academia, another one that started off great for me, and then I've just kind of continued to go down on it over time. I loved the first season and the second season. Third season, I thought the first half was great. Second half, didn't care for. Fourth season, I liked the first half. And then the second half, I thought the festival arc was okay. And then I did not like the training arc. And then the fifth season, I got so bored during the initial training arc that I just paused it and I haven't gone back. And I know season 6 starts in October, so I'd like to catch up before then. But I've also read some of the manga. Like, I know where it's currently at and what's happening, and I also don't care for that. So I feel like after the first 2 seasons, this was like amazing for me. Like, this was in my top 10. I loved those first 2 seasons. I love superhero stuff. The animation, the soundtrack, spectacular. I like all of the different quirks and powers. I thought the cast was fun. But it's just, you know, after season 3, it was probably more like, you know, around here. After season 4, it was probably more like here. And after those first few episodes of season 5, like, I don't even know if I want it in good. Okay, it's still in good. I need to finish it to really finalize my opinion. I'd probably put it like maybe here. But it definitely has had a big drop off for me, which I think is really unfortunate because I really, really, really liked it at the start, and it just hasn't been able to keep that up for me. But what can you do? Naruto, haven't seen it. Like I said, I haven't seen the big 3. Not sure if I'll get to it. Again, it's like, what, 750 episodes or something, and then there's Boruto after that. I have a couple friends who have seen it and really like it. They keep telling me I should watch it. Again, I don't know if I can commit because of how long it is. Maybe someday. No Game, No Life. Another one that I liked a lot. Slightly dropped off, but I do still enjoy it. I really like the visuals. Like, I feel like all those bright colors, you don't see that a whole lot in anime. Soundtrack was also really good, and I love video games and games in general, so I liked that whole game solve everything aspect. I feel like at the end of Very Good is a pretty safe place for it. I haven't watched the movie yet. I think it's No Game No Life 0, and I hear that's really good. So I need to get around to that. It's too bad that this probably won't ever get another season because there was some controversy. I think the author got like accused of tracing images for the book or something like that. So yeah, that's too bad. We probably won't get any more of it, but I did like that first season a lot. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Finally, Less Than 3 Rows, making progress. Gonna try and keep doing these quick. Noragami. I liked that a lot. I think I gave the first season like an 8 and the second season a 9. I really liked that arc in the second season with Bishamon getting more attention, and Ebisu, I think, was the second arc. Both of those were great. I like Yato and Hiyori a lot. I'm blanking on the name of the blonde kid, but he had some decent development. There was that scene in, I think, season 1 with the whole like cleansing that was really good. Action is slick. Production overall is good. I thought the story is pretty interesting. I really hope it gets another season, but I'm kind of losing hope that it will at this point. I mean, Devil is a part-timer did after like 9 years, and it's been maybe 7 for Noragami, so maybe it will. I know there's plenty of material in the manga, but I did recently buy all of the manga, so I think it's supposedly kind of close to ending, so I'm just going to start reading it at this point. Either way, I would put this in very good, and I would probably put it above Konosuba after Fate. I think that seems fair. One Piece, yet again, haven't watched any of the big 3. Some of my friends have seen it. They all say it's great. Maybe I'll get to it eventually when it ends, but there's just so much of it. There's over 1,000 episodes. It's hard for me to commit to these long shows when I could watch so much other stuff. And honestly, not a huge fan of the character designs. Like, it's very distinct. I respect what he's going for. Just personally, not a huge fan. But maybe one day. One Punch Man, fantastic first season. Love the action. The comedy's funny. Second season, obviously a disappointment with how the animation was handled. It was much more slideshowy, which the art in the manga is god tier. Like, I forget the artist's name, unfortunately, but he is so good. Like, it is a feast for the eyes. Like, the manga is the better way to experience it based on after having seen season 2. However, I know season 3 was announced, and I think it might be a new studio. So we'll have to see how that ends up looking. But I'm looking forward to it. The manga gets pretty crazy with some of these fights that happen later on. I would only put it in good because it would be very good for just the first season, but after the second season, I would put it in normal good. And I would probably put it... It's right around My Hero for me. Probably right after My Hero. I think the peaks of My Hero are better than One Punch. So I'll put that over here. Yeah. Origairu. Probably unpopular, but I'm not a huge fan. I like Yui a lot. I like Iroha. Yukino grew on me. I don't like 8-Man. Never have. I think he gets a little bit more tolerable as it goes on, but his attitude just always kind of annoys me. And people are like, oh, that's the point. It doesn't change that he's annoying. Like, it's just not fun to watch him. I watched it for the 3 girls, especially Yui and Iroha, because they're much more interesting and entertaining personally. I did not like 8-Man. I didn't care. I didn't like the way he did things. I didn't like the way he talked. I didn't care for the story. But I did like those other characters, the main girls. So overall for me, I will say I liked the ending, even though my favorite girl, I won't say who for spoiler reasons, but my favorite girl doesn't win. But I do think the ending was fitting for the show. I think it was satisfying, even though it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to see. So I was glad it actually got a full adaptation. But yeah, I just really didn't care for 8-Man and his attitude in the overall story. So because of that, I would only put it in okay, decent. And I'd probably put it like here. Yeah, that seems okay to me. We're getting close. Okay. Overlord. Definitely like it. I think, again, it's another one of those shows that kind of has highs and lows. I actually thought the first season was the worst, which is, I believe, an unpopular opinion. I want to say I gave the first season like a 6.5. The second season was a 7.5. The third season was a 7. And I think the reason I liked the second and third seasons more is because there's more emphasis on like the human characters and the world building and all of these different kingdoms and factions, and like it was like Gazif, Brain, and Brant. I forget the third guy's name, but I really liked the 3 like swordsmen and their dynamic and just how the world has been expanding. Season 4 I think is pretty comparable to 2 and 3 in terms of quality. I've been enjoying the continued story, and just the world is still expanding. I know there's another movie announced, so I'm looking forward to that. overall, definitely enjoy Overlord. I wouldn't say it's like the top tier cream of the crop stuff. I think I always see people saying that the light novels are better, which tends to be the case, that the source material is better, but well, maybe not always. Like Kaguya, I think the anime is better, but they're thick light novels, so there's definitely details being cut out, which is, that's just kind of how it is for a lot of these long running shows, unfortunately. But I do like Overlord, especially if you like fantasy stuff. I think it's one of the better fantasy, like, long running shows. I would put it in good, and I'd probably put it probably like this. These could switch or slightly move depending on how the current seasons go. Actually, no, I don't think I like it as much as DanMachi. Well, actually, I like it because it's more like adult. I'll just go with my initial gut thing. I'll put it here. It's good. I would recommend it. Pancreas, I haven't seen. I hear very conflicting things on that. Seems like people are either sobbing or they think it's absolutely abysmal, and there's not much in between. I don't know what group I'll be in. I'm sure I'll get to it eventually. Yeah, I don't have anything else about that. Parasite, I really liked that. You can see here it's in my top. So this is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 20. So it's my number 19. Just lost my train of thought there for a second. Really liked the story. I thought was pretty interesting. The overall concept of just parasites slowly infiltrating humanity and taking control of the host's body, like that's an actual parasite that happens for like bugs or something. So it's a similar type of thing but for humans, and I think just the overall increasing intensity as it goes on is nice. I like the main characters' relationships with the two the two main side characters. I think his like codependent relationship with Migi, the parasite who infiltrates him, is interesting. I really like their dynamic. I think the story has a very satisfying conclusion. One thing happens at the end that I thought was kind of unnecessary, but it works out. The main character is a little annoying towards the beginning, but I think it's kind of understandable for the average person to suddenly be infected with some parasite and learn this truth of parasites taking people over is probably a pretty tough pill to swallow, so his reactions are justifiable. But he gets a lot better as it goes on, a lot more entertaining. And just overall, like, it's a darker, more mature story, which I like. It's a thriller, action, doesn't shy away from the brutality of some stuff. Just very, very entertaining show as a whole. Also has a great opening song. I think it's by like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's kind of screamy, which is cool because I like metal music. Yeah, so I would put that in very good, and I would put it, I guess it's the highest of very good for me. It's like the line for me between amazing and very good is roughly that like 15 to 20-ish area of the tops. So we've got 7, 8, 9 of my top 25 in here so far, and still have more to go through, so we'll see. Pet Girl of, I don't know if it's Sakuraso or Sakuraso. Either way, I haven't seen it. I'm not sure if I will, but I think the main girl is she's cute, I guess. I don't really have anything else to say. I heard decent things. Princess Mononoke, haven't seen. I'm sure I will at some point. Promised Neverland. Yeah, I'm sure everybody who has seen Promised Neverland knows what happened with that. First season was amazing. Oh, not amazing. It was very good. I really liked how tense it was. I liked the characters are young, but they act very mature. They're very smart. I liked how they were trying to plan. It's a great mystery thriller. Second season kind of drops the ball in a lot of different ways. Production wasn't as good. Story wasn't as interesting. Characters weren't as good. There was just kind of some stupid, in my opinion, plot devices that I didn't care for. I know they cut out a ton from the manga. I think there was one arc that people do like that would have been in the second season that they just cut out entirely. I'm blanking on the name. Goldie Pond or something like that. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know. Wasn't a huge fan of the second season, and that brought it down for me, unfortunately. So if you average out, I would say the first season was very good. Second season was just okay. A lot of people probably think it was bad. I was like, I didn't think it was the worst thing ever, but it definitely let me down. Like, I think, honestly, I don't even know if I could recommend watching the second season. I'd probably just say watch the first season and then maybe just leave it at that and headcanon for yourself what happens afterwards. Either way, I would end up putting it in good to average out those two. And it's like the first season is better for me than all of these things in good. But the last season, I would say, is worse than all of these. So, where would I put it overall? I guess I'd probably put it here. Very end of good. Like, that season definitely, unfortunately, brought my overall opinion on the show down. And I'm rating these based on everything that I've seen from the show. So, if I was just rating them based on the first season, this would be higher. But I'm looking at the show as a whole. So, Psycho Pass, I might contradict myself a little bit with what I just said. But I consider, like, the first season of Psycho Pass kind of different from the rest. First season is by far the best. I have it in that's number 13 for me on my favorites list. And season 2 and definitely not as good. Like, I didn't think it was terrible, but it's not as good. Third season is better. And I haven't watched the movie that came out after the third season, and I think they just announced another series that's going to come out, and it's going to be what happens in between season 2 and 3, because the beginning of season 3, like, something has definitely happened and we don't know what, and you're just kind of like left to wonder. But I'm going to mostly rank this based on the first season because I love the first season so much, and you can watch it totally standalone and it's a complete story. Like, you could never even know that season 2 and on exists and you're fine. It's a 100% complete story, and I love that story. I think it's a thriller, sci-fi thriller. Absolutely love that stuff. I really liked Kogami and Makishima, their back and forth as the good and bad guys. Kogami's kind of like slow descent into doing whatever he has to do to get Makishima within his means, I guess. Akane, I think, was a solid main character, a good female lead, which is nice to see because it's not super common that you really get a female lead in a lot of these stuff. That was terribly worded. It's disproportionately male leads generally, I feel like. So seeing a very strongly written female lead in Akane was a nice change of pace. Again, I like her dynamic with Kogami. I think the story was excellent, just very interesting, kept me on the edge of my seat. I binged it super fast. It's like 22 episodes, and I probably went through it in like a day or a day and a half. I could not stop watching it. It's so good. So the story is excellent, and the story is my main aspect of things that I look for. Characters are also really strong. Production is great. It has the 'Cause I Feel opening, which you've probably seen. I love one of the best openings, again, in anime. So I would put this in amazing, and I'm going to put it ahead of Kaguya, which is probably seems strange because I've given the 3 Kaguya seasons 8, 9, and 9.5. And the best Psycho Pass season I gave an 8.5. But that 8.5 is such... I could probably bump that up to a 9, to be honest. I'll have to think about it more once I update my top 25 and really consider season 3 of Kaguya, but I think this is fine as it is. We're down to the last 2 rows. We are in the home stretch. ReZero. I like ReZero a lot. It's another one where it second season didn't quite do it for me as much as the first season. I do really like the world building and some of the aspects of the second season, like the witches. I was glad to finally see some of them, especially Echidna. I think she stole the show when she was active in it. The way that the second season ended, I wasn't it was fine. But ReZero is another mystery thriller, which I love. I think the whole looping in time arc and learning the whole looping in time concept and learning a little bit more each time that you're using to try and get farther and uncover the next mystery. Like, I like that because it keeps you coming back, just like Subaru is coming back to try and figure out more. and it's very gratifying to see how that happens. Characters I think are overall solid. I like Rosewall, I really like as a character. Echidna I really liked. Subaru I think is good. He has some good development, especially at the beginning of season 2. Amelia I think still needs a little bit more time, but she took some significant steps in season 2. And they're really the mains. But overall, I do really like ReZero. And to me, this would be, even though the second season I didn't like quite as much, there's still a lot of mystery that I'd like to figure out. And I would still put this in very good. Probably like this seems fine to me. Okay, keep going. Get a few fast ones here. I haven't seen Psyche K. I heard it's pretty funny. I'll probably get around to it at some point, but I just haven't yet. But it's like 5-minute episodes. Like, yeah, there's 100 something, but they're 5 minutes. So I'm sure it's a very easy binge, and I'll get around to it. Samurai Champloo I have not seen, but it's also pretty high on my watch list. I heard good things. Seraph of the End is an interesting one because I watched that towards the beginning of my anime watching career, again, if you want to call it that. I liked it a lot. To me, like, at the time when I was newer, I was kind of looking at it as like Attack on Titan but with vampires, and that's not a great way to look at it. I wouldn't describe it as that to people. But it is I think the story and the world building is also pretty strong in that. I like the main cast of characters, especially Shinoa, the short purple-haired girl, as one of the main characters. And I like Yuichiro and Mikaila's like relationship. I think it's endearing, it's interesting. I'd like to see how it continues to develop. I've kind of lost hope of it getting more seasons, just like Noragami. It's been like 7 years. So I actually started picking up and reading the manga lately. The art in the manga, great. Which reminds me, the animation, production again for Seraph of the End, great. Great animation, great soundtrack. It's a pretty intense story. I really like some of the darker tone to that. A lot of interesting characters, a lot of good dynamics, a lot of, it seems like, switching factions, or like there's secret things that we don't know about. Like, I don't even know because I haven't gotten that far in the manga, but I feel like I have this headcanon of, what might be going on, and I'd like to see if that's true or not. But I do like Seraph of the End a lot. I think it's pretty slept on. Granted, it's in the top 100 most popular, so maybe it's not that slept on, but I don't think I know anybody who's seen it. So I need to start recommending it. I would put this at the top. I'd probably put this here. It's definitely at the top of good, borderline very good. And I think I am going to end up liking the manga a lot as I get further into it. Seven Deadly Sins, haven't watched. It was on my list. I think it might still be. And I heard the first 2 seasons are pretty solid, but I heard the rest of it not so good. Animation quality takes a nosedive. It's faster paced, like it's just kind of rushed. So I don't know if I'll end up watching it. Maybe at some point. We'll see. Shield Hero. I watched that. Didn't like it. Okay, I should slightly change that. I thought it was okay when I watched it at first. I gave it like a 7.5. And then over time, I was like, wow, I really didn't like A, B, C, D, E, F, and G about this show. And I ended up dropping it so far that I have it at like a 4.5 now. So this is going to be my first bad. And it might end up being my only bad. But I do not like Shield Hero. I like Raftalia. I think Philo and then the purple hair apprentice, like Melty or something, she's okay. Now Fumi is like fine, I guess. I don't hate him, but I don't like him. But my God, I despise the characters in this show. They are some of the worst characters, in my opinion, of any anime I've watched. The Spear Hero and that freaking princess are some of the most insufferable trash characters I have ever had the misfortune of watching in an anime. The bow hero and the sword hero or what, I don't even know if those are their names, but I think that's what they wield. They suck too, but they're not as bad. But the freaking spear hero, I get so upset just thinking about that guy. He has to be like top 3 most hated characters for me. Absolute garbage. So my little rant there aside, like the story, I don't think it's bad. Like I kind of liked the world building, and I think where the first season ended was kind of interesting. But I just hated the characters so much that I have no interest in watching the second season. I never will, I don't think, unless I'm like hate watching it for some reason. Like I really dropped on that over time because I cannot stand those characters. My God. Except for Raftalia and the purple hair princess Melt. Like, they're fine. Philo's fine, I guess. Now Fumi's like tolerable. Raftalia's good. But man, everyone else sucks, and that makes me not like this show. I mentioned it earlier though. Kevin Penkin does the soundtrack for that. That is a good point. The soundtrack is very strong. I think there was a good ending song. I forget if it was the first or second one, but that was good. The art's solid. Animation was good. So, you know, there are good or decent aspects to it, but as a whole, it just is, to me, it's more frustrating than it is entertaining. And ultimately, like, that's why I ended up dropping it so much and putting it in bad. Obviously, to each their own. If you like Shield Hero, like, obviously I'm not saying you're wrong. Everybody has different opinions and different values of what they do and don't like for shows. If you like it, great. You know, I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that you got a second season and there's a third coming. I saw the key art for the third and it actually looks pretty cool. But it's just not for me. Next up, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. We are back to things that I like a lot. It was another show kind of like ReZero where I liked the first season a lot. I think I gave it a 9. And then the second season, like, I still liked it, but not quite as much. Like, I might have given the first half an 8.5 and the second half an 8, or like an 8 and a 7.5, something like that. So I still enjoyed it. I liked that it was a little darker, like, definitely, oh, not a little, it's a lot darker. It's a lot more action focused. There's a lot of build up for like big confrontations. So I liked that it kind of changed from the more upbeat, like lighthearted, haha first season. So, you know, you get more story progression, you get more world building, you get more character development. That's all good stuff. Just overall, Slime is kind of like Food Wars for me in that I really like the cast. Like, I can't think of anybody that I dislike in the Slime cast. Like, a villain, sure, like, oh, I don't like him because he's a villain. But, like, the main cast, I really, really like. Rimuru I like a lot, especially. Benimaru, I think his name is, the, like, red hair ogre guy. I like him. It's a lot of fun to me to watch. Like, I don't even know what else to say other than that I just find it very entertaining and very fun. And I think that's what's important. Like, you're watching anime and other mediums because you think it's fun and you want to enjoy them. And this is just one of those shows that I know I'm going to have a good time watching. So for me, this is another very good, basically tied with Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone has actually probably passed it at this point because I really liked the special they just released. And they have season 3 announced for next year, which is great. Slime, I think, has a movie announced coming this year. I don't know when that'll come to English, but we'll see. So that'll probably be another slight change when I update this. But yeah, I like Slime a lot. Almost down to one row left. Soul Eater I haven't seen. I might watch it. I think it's the same author as Fire Force, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get around to it at some point. A couple of my friends have seen it and they liked it. Spirited Away was another one of my first anime. I mentioned it earlier, there was a movie I saw at the very beginning. So it was Death Note was like my first real experience, and then Spirited Away, I actually watched it in school for one of my history classes. It was like I think it was European history, so I don't know why we watched Spirited Away, because obviously Japan is not Europe, but you know, it's a good movie for sure. I don't love it like a lot of people do, but it's been a long time since I watched it. Like that was probably 2012 or 2013. So I would probably have to rewatch it to get a better grasp on it, just because I have forgotten a lot of it. But from what I do remember, I think it would be towards the beginning of good. Like Ghibli, they're very renowned for a reason. I remember liking the story for the most part, and I think it's one of those things that when you watch it as a teenager like I did, you might not pick up on as much as when you're an adult. So now that it's been like 10 years, I should probably give it another watch, and it would probably end up moving up because I would appreciate more about it than I did back then. But from what I remember, great production, and the story was interesting, so I would probably put it like around here. I've seen all but one of these last ones, so we got mostly talking for this last stretch. I'm going to be really interested to see how long this is when I'm done, because this is a lot of talking in one go. All right, Spy Family. Really like it. I have been reading the manga since pretty much when it started releasing. Only part 1 is out, so I'll kind of hold off my final thoughts on it until the second part comes out, which starts in October. But I think it's been a fantastic adaptation of the manga. I really like the voice actor choices for Lloyd, Yor, and Anya, and the rest of the cast, but especially those three. I think there's been a lot of care put into the adaptation. They've enhanced it in a few ways, like that whole castle episode towards the beginning. That was really expanded compared to the manga. Like, they added a lot to that, and it made it a lot better. I think Spy Family, definitely, the character dynamics are the best thing. Like, I really like the relationship between Lloyd, Yor, and Anya, and I'm sure it will continue to develop. I am still ahead in the manga. I'm not caught up, but I'm ahead of where the anime is, so I still know part of what's going to happen in the next season at least. And I do like that, what's coming. Just overall, it's very fun. It's a great adaptation, and I'm definitely thinking it's one of the stronger ones of 2022 so far. So for me, Spy Family is in very good. I'd probably have it about here. After, like, these are more story focused, which I prefer over a little bit more comedy stuff that you see in Spy Family. But like I said, there's the second half coming, so that could change and it could move up if it's similarly strong. Yor, one of my best girls of the year. Anya's hysterical. Love her reaction phases. Lloyd's a great lead as well. Moving on, Steins Gate. Fantastic series. That's one of my go-to recommendations for pretty much anybody who's looking for an anime. I think the story in that is incredible. Just the timeline hopping and the mystery of, how can we fix what went wrong and how can we fix it type of thing. Love the cast, especially, like, Okabe is my number one protagonist. My number one best guy, Kurisu, is always in my top 5 best girls, maybe even top 4. I forget exactly where she is, but definitely top 5. The Okabe Kurisu is my favorite ship of all time. I really like Mayuri. I like Daru. The other side characters aren't quite as good. Ferris is fine. Like, Ruka's fine. They don't add as much, but the main, like, Okabe Kurisu and the story and their dynamics, like, it is so good, so engaging. The movie and Steins Gate Zero I liked. I didn't like quite as much as main Steins Gate, but I think they added interesting stuff to the main series. And the movie is entirely non-canon, so you don't even really have to watch it. I thought it was fine. But overall, Steins Gate is, for me, like, as close as it gets to masterpiece tier without actually being masterpiece tier. I probably will rewatch that at some point if I can find somebody who hasn't seen it yet and would be interested. Like, I would like to watch it with them and see their reaction to a lot of the things, especially the, oh no, my watch broke. From there on, I really want to see the reactions. It's just the one thing with Steins Gate for a lot of people is there's a lot of build-up before it starts picking up. I personally didn't mind. I thought it was pretty interesting from the beginning, and just the gradual build-up I liked. But some people would prefer if it gets faster, or moves faster, which I understand to an extent. But I liked it a lot as is, and it has been one of my favorite series ever since I watched it, and I anticipate it staying that way. Sword Art Online. So this is another one where I guess I kind of have an unpopular opinion, at least from what you see on like social media and stuff. I like Sword Art. I don't think, it's like amazing, but it's enjoyable. Asuna is one of my favorite, she's been one of my best girls ever since I first watched the original series. I don't really care for Kirito a whole lot. I think the cast is all fine. Like, I don't dislike Kirito. I think the cast as a whole is fine. I think the villains tend to be pretty weak. I don't like them. Like, it's not that I don't like them because they're villains. I just don't really like them. Like, I don't think they're very well written. They're not engaging or interesting. But I do like most of the main characters. Like, Klein's a bro, Agil's a bro. Suguha's fine. I like Sinon's arc. I think Alice was pretty good. I am blanking on the blonde guy from the Alsatian arc, Yujio. I like him. He's pretty good. Kirito, I think, definitely gets better as the series goes on. Like, you compare him to the Aincrad arc compared to the Alsatian arc, and it's night and day. Like, he's a lot better there. And Asuna, like I said, I like her a lot. I think Sword Art has always had very good production. Even if you don't like the series and you like to trash on it, like whatever, like I said, to each their own. But the animation and soundtrack, regardless of what you like, I think objectively, those are excellent. The openings tend to be really strong, I think. And just generally, like, I like the whole concept of being stuck in a game. Like, that was very, I think, novel at the time. And it's just been very influential on anime in general. As a whole, I think I'd probably say from like favorite to least favorite, my arcs would be Alicization is the peak, then Ordinal Scale, then Aincrad, then Gun Gale Online, then War of Underworld, then Mother's Rosario, and then Fairy Dance is probably last. I also liked the Progressive movie. Not sure exactly where I'd slot that in, but I liked the focus on Asuna since she's one of my favorites. And I know there's a second Progressive movie coming, which is nice. I feel like they're probably going to keep doing those Progressive movies until they have a go-ahead for like the next main arc for the TV series. I think it's called like Unital Ring or something. Or maybe there's another one before. I know there's 2 arcs that haven't been animated yet. One of them is that, and then there's one other one. And I don't remember the order, but one of them is small, and it's like what happens during the War of Underworld arc at a different point. And then there's like another big arc. So I don't know. Either way, that was a lot of rambling about Sword Art, but I do like it. I think it's entertaining. My scores for like my lowest score I've given it is like a 6 or a 6.5, and I think my highest score is like an 8 or 8.5. So it definitely varies in quality depending on the arc and the characters that are involved in that arc, but overall, like, I think it's entertaining. I enjoy it. So for me, it's in good, and I'd probably put it probably like here. Okay, Devil is a Part-Timer. So this one's interesting because the first season, again, is another one where it was like one of the first anime I watched, or towards the beginning, and I liked it a lot. I also watched that one dubbed, and I think that was a very strong dub. Ashia especially had a really good English voice. Second season is currently airing, and I don't like it as much as the first. Like, it's fine. I'm watching it in Japanese this time, and I think the voices are still good. It's just not as engaging, and I think the new character designs aren't as good either. Like, they just look a little simpler. It might just be that, I still haven't adjusted. I don't know exactly. But yeah, I'm not as into the new designs. So overall, it's like it's fine. I would put it in good. still, but I don't like it as much as I used to. The comedy and character dynamics are still good. But yeah, I would probably put it like around here seems fine. It could move a little bit based on how the second season ends, but that seems fair to me. Tokyo Ghoul, another one that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but I really don't mind it. And part of that could be that I didn't read the manga, which everybody says is vastly superior. I actually thought that the first season of Tokyo Ghoul was the worst season, and a lot of people say that's the only good season. So I don't know exactly why I have such a different opinion of that. But I think, I don't remember a whole lot about Route A, which was the second season. I thought Ri was fine. Like, I could tell while I was watching it that it was definitely sped up. Like, they definitely cut some stuff out. But I thought the story was still interesting, and, you know, the animation wasn't fantastic, but it had its moments. Especially story. Like, the first episode or two of Ri was good, and I liked how it ended. Overall, it's like one of those 6.5 to 7-ish shows for me. Like, you know, not fantastic, but I enjoyed it. I like the kind of darker, like the unsettling tone. I like the concept. I like Toka and Kaneki's dynamic. There's some other good characters too. Like, I think the bartender, I forget his name, but he was good. So I would put that like at the bottom of good. Tokyo Revengers haven't seen, not really interested. Maybe at some point, but I don't know. Just never really piqued my interest. Toradora, another one that I think I have a kind of unpopular opinion on, but I don't care for it all that much. It's another one that I liked a lot when I first watched it. Like, I think I gave it an 8. And then over time, I've dropped it to like a 6 or so. Like, it's not bad. I like the main character. And I like the long blue hair girl, blanking on her name, Ami maybe. But I didn't really care for the glasses guy, the Minori, I think the red hair girl's name is, and I didn't really like Taiga. Like, I just don't like. I like tsundere, but I don't like the super like aggressive physical tsunderes. I like the more like endearing ones, and she's definitely the aggressive physical one. And I think it's kind of annoying personally. She gets better. Like, I think the last third of the show, like from the Christmas arc or like the Christmas episode and on, I think the show is a lot better. I think the ending was a little unsatisfying. It could have been a little better. You know, like the comedy had some moments. Like, just overall, like, I don't know, it's fine. Like, I think a lot of people are very heavy on the nostalgia for it because it's older and probably a lot of people's like one of their first rom-coms, and I'm in that boat. But just like as I've gotten older and I look back on it, I'm like, you know, it's whatever. So I'd probably put that like here. Hitting some good stuff here to end. The last 6 of the most popular alphabetically. Vinland Saga. I loved the first season of Vinland Saga. I gave that my anime of the year in 2019. We got season 2 starting sometime next year. I think Askeladd is probably one of my favorite characters in anime. I think he's very compelling. He's very interesting. I was always, like, whenever he was on screen, like, my eyes are glued on. Like, I want to know whatever he's saying, whatever he's doing, I need to see, like, every second of it. That guy was amazing. I think the overall story was very good. And I think the way it all ended and wrapped up the first season, like, end of the prologue, that was so well done. Thorfinn I liked a lot, like in the beginning arc, and Thorfinn was probably the weakest aspect to me. I think he has a lot of room to grow, and I think we could see that as the story went on, and then he kind of regressed at the end, like somewhat understandably based on things that happened. But I hear in the arc that the second season will adapt, it's called like Farmland or something. I think he supposedly gets a lot better there, so I'm looking forward to that. Because that was really the only thing that I wasn't super stoked on in the first season. But like Askeladd as a villain, as an antagonist was very, very compelling. Story was great. Production, it was Studio Wit, who never lets me down. The art was absolutely phenomenal. I think I gave it best art. Animation was great. It's just Vinland Saga is just an epic story, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing more. So for me, Vinland Saga goes in amazing, between Food Wars and Attack on Titan. So now we're up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 of my top 25 are in the most popular so far, which is nice. Looks like we got a couple more. Violet Evergarden. Another one kind of like Clannad, where I watched it and I got very emotionally invested. I think Violet's, the thing that Violet Evergarden does best is a lot of different emotional stories that different people can connect to for different reasons. Usually dealing with loss, but, everybody or most people have lost somebody or something in their life at some point. And I think the stories are very well done and touching in how they handle like the grief and, how they help Violet develop as a character. I think like episode 10 of Violet, I think is one of the best anime episodes I've seen. I think that's probably the most like emotionally distraught, if you want to call it, that I've been from watching an episode of anime. Again, I think it was I don't even know how to describe it, but like the way it handles the emotions, I think, is very well done. And I was able to really connect with a lot of Violet. And I think I said it towards the beginning of this at some point, but shows that I'm able to get that emotionally invested in and connected to are the ones that I like the most, and that end up doing the best in my like personal rankings list. So Violet is another anime that I would put in the amazing category, right up there with Vinland and Attack on Titan. Of course, aside from like the story and the emotional investment, I think Violet's development was very nice. Like seeing her come to terms with her feelings and her emotions and letting those out was good. KyoAni, as always, excellent production. I believe it was Evan Call did the soundtrack. Amazing, one of the best soundtracks in my opinion for anime. Visually, like, might also be the best anime I've ever watched. Like, it looks better than real life. I wish real life looked as good as Violet Evergarden does. The movie I wasn't as into as the main series. I think it also had its moments. I don't necessarily think it was necessary for the series, but I guess it's nice that they made it just so that you kind of have the option to watch it if you want more closure to Violet's story. I did really, really like the final scene of the movie. But yeah, that's pretty solidly in the amazing section. Only 4 left. Weathering with You. I believe this is a Makoto Shinkai film along with Your Name. Not a huge fan. I felt like it was very repetitive. Like, it hit a lot of the same beats as Your Name, in my opinion, so it was like not the most original. Visually, like, again, up there with Violet as like one of the best looking anime I've ever seen. The music was great. The Grand Escape insert song it might be the best insert song in anime. If it's not, like, maybe Promare, Inferno might be number 1, but Grand Escape is like at worst top 3. Incredible scene, incredible use of the music and the way it aligns with the visuals. I thought the characters were fine. The story was fine. The end of it was kind of like, I don't know exactly how I feel about it. For me, the movie was more of like a visual spectacle than anything else. I didn't get super into the story or the characters. Again, like, it had its moments, but it was mostly a visual thing for me. So Weathering for me is in the okay decent, and I'd probably put it like, I'm going to move Eva above Dororo. And I feel like Weathering is Yeah, I'd probably put it here. 3 left. Final 3. And then I can take a nice big swig of water to rest my throat. Wodokoi. I really, really like Wodokoi. Love the character dynamics between Narumi and Hirotaka, and then the 2 bosses whose names are escaping me at the moment, Koyanagi and Kabakura, I think, maybe. Great dynamics. Again, like, as an adult, I like seeing these fully adult casts now. In a work environment, I also work in an office, so it's just fun to see that represented in anime more often. And, as somebody who likes anime a lot and likes video games, like, these characters were very relatable. They're very funny. They're just very enjoyable to watch. And I think the anime was just great at establishing their relationship and how endearing all of these couples are. It's a great rom-com. I've also read the full manga. I wish that this would get another season because there's some great stuff in the manga that happens later on. I think the final chapter of the manga was, like, such an amazing ending to the series. Like, it was so satisfying. Seeing it animated would be just amazing, and I really, really hope that it does at some point because now it's completed, so they could do a complete adaptation. I don't think they will, but I would love if they did. But this is an anime list, not a manga list. I'm a little biased because of how good the manga ended, but I think the anime on its own, like, it's solid 8 out of 10. Great rom-com, great cast, comedy is solid. Like, it's just, love the references. So for me, this isn't very good, and I'd probably put it probably about here. I think this seems like a fair spot for me. Final 2, Your Lie in April. I think this was also towards the beginning of my anime watching. I was probably a few months into watching stuff consistently when this was airing seasonally, so I remember it caught my eye like a week before it ended. And then right after the final episode came out, I binged the entire series, essentially, over the course of like one day. And I was a wreck at the end. I made a lot of wet tissues thrown into the trash. I think it was another series that definitely had that emotional impact on me, and it's one that, to a lesser extent than some of the other series, I've slightly cooled off on. But I still really do like what it, like, I mentioned it before, but music is like my number one. Like, I love anime, I love games, but music is like my number one love. And Your Lie in April, I think, is one of those shows that it has an excellent soundtrack, excellent insert songs, one of the best OPs of all time, probably my number one of all time. But it's how the music is used in the show, as like, music causes some of the characters pain, but then music also heals them and brings them back to what they used to be, helps them move forward and develop. Music is like the connection between multiple characters. It really goes to show the power that music has, and I really like that. It's also, great visuals. I think it's a solid rom-com, but it is also a drama for a lot of reasons, and I think the last episode drives home the point that the show is trying to make, and I don't want to say what that point is, but I think if you've watched it, you probably have an idea. But for me, Your Lie in April is one of those shows that I could emotionally connect with. I got invested in. I liked Kaori a lot, and Kosei, I think, a little annoying at the start, but he gets better as their relationship develops. And I liked Tsubaki, I think, is his childhood friend too. She's good. But that, and just how much I love the music, like probably my top 3, or in my top 3 favorite soundtracks of all time. So for me, Your Lie in April goes also in very good, and it would be, so in my top 25, I have it just after Kaguya and just before Parasite. I think it's really close between that and Parasite for me for what would be like at the top of very good. For now, I'll leave it in front of Parasite because I got more emotionally connected to that and I like the soundtrack more, but I do like the story of Parasite more. And this is the type of show that's more up my alley. So yeah, this is really, really close, but I'm going to leave that how it is. Last but certainly not least, Your Name. I feel like pretty much everybody has seen Your Name at this point. It's very easily approachable. It's a very self-contained, I mean, most films are self-contained, but I think it's one of those ones where, like, even people who haven't seen anime, it's one of those ones that you can easily show them as be like, look at how good anime can be. Like, do I think it's an amazing movie? No, I don't. But I think, like Weathering with You, visually, the visual, like, it's top tier visually. I think the soundtrack is great. The collaboration with Radwimps for all of the various insert songs, those are used really well to just heighten the various emotional scenes and like the overall vibe of the show. Like, they have the emotional ones, but also the happier scenes. They do the opening and the ending that are great. I think the overall concept of like body switching and getting to know each other through that is pretty cool. Like, it's happened before, for sure. I forget what that movie I think a lot of us probably watched as kids was, Freaky Friday or something like that. I think it happens in that. Like, you know, it's not new, but it doesn't show up a lot. I think Yamada and the Seven Witches also has it. I haven't seen it, but something like that. Anyway, that was a tangent. It's a cool concept. I think people think that's interesting, and I think the way the relationship develops is endearing, and I think how it builds up and then the eventual conclusion that we get, it was well done. And I didn't see how the story ended up shaping up coming. Like, there was a twist that, again, if you've seen it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but I did not expect that when I saw it. And how they resolved it was interesting. It's cool. It's a very good introductory movie for people who haven't seen anime, and I think people who have seen it can appreciate the production and just what it does for the medium as like an introductory thing. But it is still a good movie. Like, I like it. I would recommend it to people. It's just not personally one of my favorite anime movies. That being said, I do think it's good, and I would probably put it like here. I tend to grade movies a little more harshly than I do TV series, which is why, like, you see movies not really passing the good tier for me. Just because they're shorter, I feel like it's harder to, you know, get the characters as well developed, tell as good of a story because you just have less time to work with. But, you know, usually the visuals and production are better in movies than you'd see in TV. Well, you know, obviously there are exceptions. But, you know, it's a good intro anime, and I think it's popular for a reason. Anyway, that completes the top 100 most popular anime from MyAnimeList and AniList, in my opinion. With these being the main tiers, and then all the stuff I haven't seen, which isn't as important, but these three are all 10s for me. I did say earlier that I only have 3 10s, and it's these. That's technically a lie. I gave Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2 a 10, and I also gave A Place Further Than the Universe a 10, which isn't even in this, which is unfortunate. I think a lot of people are missing out on that. It should be more watched. And then from my top, like, I'm kind of surprised K-On! Wasn't in the top 100, as well as Fruits Basket. Like, I would have thought maybe not, so, like, it was popular when it came out. I don't know. Those three kind of surprised me that they weren't in it. But either way, there's that final list. You know, you can let me know, what do you think? You know, do I have absolutely god-awful opinions and I should never share them again because everything is wrong? You know, you can tell me that. Or if you think this is relatively close to what you think, that's cool. You know, I'd definitely be curious about what you either strongly agree or strongly disagree with and why. I always think it's interesting hearing other people's opinions and having a civil conversation, or, you know, maybe you, especially stuff like Evangelion, like I said, I appreciate stuff about it and what it's done for the medium, but I'm sure there's probably aspects that kind of went over my head, and maybe if I understood those better, it might move up. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say, but yeah, you can let me know what you agree and disagree with. What of these haven't seens maybe I should check out that you think I might like more based on how I rated this stuff. And like I said, I'll include a link to this tier list in the description if you want to do it yourself and, you know, share what your final result is, or yeah. So I'm sure this is pretty long at this point. I'll see once I click stop. But if you somehow made it this far, thanks for checking out the whole video. Or if you just skipped around and came to the end, also thanks for watching whatever of it you did. If you just wanted to see the final result or something, that's cool too. Like I said, let me know your opinions on some of these shows, if you agree or disagree, and standard YouTube stuff. If you want to subscribe, go ahead, or like the video. You can follow me on Twitter at JDefenseAnime. But yeah, that's about it for this first entry of Tier List Tuesday. I have a few more ideas for ones I plan on doing in these coming weeks, so I'm sure you can check those out as they come out. So again, thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.